people who have conspiracy theorists started saying a couple of years ago, just wait, just before the election, there'll be a new variant that comes out, and then we'll have to close everything down and wear masks, and everybody will have to get new shots and all that stuff. Guess what? This was planned. This was planned.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hello.
To the Timmy Tom Show. You may have noticed we have our own mics.
We've graduated to personal
mics. We're in the up and up. We may be able to have guests on the show now.
We might, and it's sort of like progressing from sharing a fork to each having your own fork. It's sort of the same thing, only different.
I'm glad we have our own forks.
We do.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
No, this is very exciting because this is sort of a new level of things that we're able to do.
This is very, very exciting.
And Tim worked this all out. Thank you, Tim.
Oh my gosh. You should have seen me hunched over in the chair trying to figure all this audio out. But the great thing is once you figure it out, once you go through the challenging process, then it becomes easy.
That was easy.
Well, we got a lot to talk about today.
We do.
And you guys need to buckle up because we're going to be hitting it on all fronts. Donald J. Trump. The mugshot.
The mugshot.
The almost idolized mugshot. Have you seen the mugshot yet?
I have not seen the mugshot.
Let me show
I've heard he made a mugshot.
Let me get your first reaction. When you see this mugshot, what do you think of?
I have a couple of reactions.
Okay.
One of them is, how could they be so stupid?
Yeah.
That's one of my first reactions to it.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, all the charges that they've made and all the stuff that they're doing. For all kinds of reasons, it's more ridiculous than can be explained.
Yeah.
However, it looks to me like he said, you want to make me a criminal? All right, let me give you a sly dog look.
He's become a symbol. He's a symbol of the MAGA movement, which he started America First. And strong borders, pro-life, Second Amendment, pro-Israel.
Follow the Constitution.
Yeah. Appoint 3 judges to the Supreme Court who overturn affirmative action. Roe versus Wade. Like he symbolizes all that. And what they just did was make a symbol out of him.
Well, yeah.
What's your second thought?
My second thought... No. I like the mugshot.
I do too. I think it shows strength under control.
It does, and I'll tell you what, I'm voting for him.
Me too.
In the next election.
Me too.
Because, and anybody wants to challenge that, please do. I would love to lay out for you all the things that I believe that he has done that are absolutely right in God's eyes, as well as thinking people's eyes.
Right. Didn't he try? Well, what's the charges against Trump?
Well, I think he tried to overthrow the American government. That's what the Democrats say, and we know that they're really for real democracy.
Okay.
Even though the Constitution is outdated and we can't possibly use that because we're a growing people and we need to have change.
Right.
Somebody said, just recently I read this, the United States Constitution is the only government document ever created by people founding a nation that says our rights come from God. Every other country in the world, in the history of the world that's had any kind of document says the government gives you what is right and what is wrong. And if the government changes its mind next week, what you thought was right today will be wrong. We're the only country that has a constitution that God provided.
Well, the Bill of Rights is what separates our constitution from any other constitution, because other constitutions exist. Ours is the longest, but the Bill of Rights is what our founding fathers said, these rights need to be enshrined. And if you read them carefully, it's not the government giving you those rights, because if the government gave you those rights, they can take them away.
That's right.
They're recognizing that those 10 rights are given from God, and that way government can never take it away.
That's what they said. That's what they meant.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm going to be voting for Trump this next election also. One of the main reasons why is, one, his track record. Do I believe he conspired to overthrow the election? No, I don't, actually. I think they are so scared of him, and it shows you exactly why.
Oh, of course.
4 indictments. I mean, he's collecting indictments faster than Thanos is collecting Infinity Stones
There you go.
in the Endgame. And I'm going to go with the candidate who the deep state is most afraid of.
Well, as you were saying that, 2 or 3 other things came to mind that you didn't already mention. You said he's a great friend to Israel. He was instrumental in getting, I believe there are 3 Arab nations now that have signed agreements with Israel. First time in the history of 75 years that Israel's been in existence, that they would do that. They did it because Trump negotiated that. I'll tell you, people, America, it would be absolutely blessed to have this man again. Without him, we are so close to what they did in Nazi Germany and the way the government operated that anybody who studied history will see that. And I don't care that the Democrats say, oh, those Republicans are all Nazis. Horse manure.
Well, honestly, you got even Republicans who are saying that. Even in the Republican debate, Asa Hutchinson, Chris Christie. I mean, when all these people were asked, who would be the first, or raise your hand if you would pardon Donald Trump, if you were president, if he was a nominee. Vivek Ramaswamy, I think I'm saying his name right, was the first one to raise his hand. Ron DeSantis then looked at everybody else raising their hand and raised his hand. And everybody else was kind of like, yeah, kind of, And the fact that in the Republican debate, which was very interesting, is after the debate, Don Jr., Marjorie Taylor Greene, and some other people were trying to get into the green room.
Right, where the Republicans were.
Where the Fox News was. Fox News wouldn't let them in.
Mm-hmm.
They were told not to let the people from Donald Trump's in. And even the voter base, the crowd there in the debate was funded, or it was basically donors, special interests. And so
sort of a hand-picked crowd.
Trump didn't go to the debate, which is an alpha move. He's already up by 50, 60 points against everybody. But it shows you, one, how much the Republican leadership is out of touch with the base.
Absolutely.
Completely out of touch.
Well, when evil is triumphing, weak people go, I'm going to join the evil because they're getting what I want.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. Mm-hmm. And it may be that they prevail. Who knows? All I know is God is just. Mm-hmm. And the fact that God has not poured his wrath out on mankind, but he said the day is coming when he is going to do it. That's what the scriptures tell us. And that, they also tell us that day is coming very quickly because it lists several things that will be precursors to the day, and we can see them now. One of the main things that I love is where the Bible says, in the last days men will call evil good, and they will call good evil.
Yeah.
And evil and good, for anybody who questions, well, how do you know what's good and what's not good? You go to God's word. What God says is good is good. What he says is evil.
Yeah.
And man is going to turn that around and take the things that God says are good and say,
yeah,
that's evil.
Let me show you this picture.
Yeah. Who we got
Trump's
here?
team.
It's a bunch of nice old folks who got arrested for something or other.
Yeah. This is Trump's team. You got Rudy Giuliani, Jenna Ellis, and others right here. When I see this picture, I see this is what a government does to political opponents. This is what a dictator does to political opponents. They're trying to make an example out of these people. And,
well, that's it.
Well, not only that, but if you look at even how the left will try to get rid of religious freedom, we just had that Supreme Court case that SCOTUS just ruled on, and it was a reaction to the lady who basically said, I'm not going to create a website for a same-sex couple. And the left said, yes, you are. And she said, no, it goes against my religion. And so Supreme Court said, no, she has the right to discriminate when it goes against her First Amendment and everything. And even what's more amazing is there was a coach who prayed before a football game a couple years back. He kneeled.
Right.
And remember, he got fired for that.
Yeah.
He got reinstated as coach.
Yeah, hallelujah.
Because SCOTUS ruled on that too. But like if you go on to look, even in California, they're trying to criminalize crisis pregnancy centers for misinformation.
Mm-hmm.
This is what the left does.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's no coincidence that they would try to silence someone who is their worst enemy, who they fear the most.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting, too, because a lot of these things happened almost 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But they waited till now when we're getting close to an election.
That's another thing I want to bring up.
The timing is extraordinary.
The timing is impeccable because not only is Trump doing all this, and they're going to be having it during the election, which
of course.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me unless it's planned like that, which of course it is. The second thing is, guess what just came back?
What?
A new variant.
I remember one of the best tactics to do is you make it so people cannot go to vote in person but have to mail in a ballot.
Yeah.
Because we print about 1.5 million extra ballots in California and other places, mail-in ballots. So everybody has to do a mail-in ballot.
Yeah.
And if you're doing a mail-in ballot and you open a ballot and it's not the one you want, you can reach into the stack of the million unused ballots and put that in the place.
Yep.
Oh yeah, if you have only mail-in, the chances of being fraudulent are greatly increased.
I completely agree. I mean, we went to Best Buy today to get a new cord for my laptop, and did you notice how many people were wearing masks?
I did, because people who have conspiracy theorists started saying a couple of years ago, just wait, just before the election, there'll be a new variant that comes out, and then we'll have to close everything down and wear masks, and everybody will have to get new shots and all that stuff. Guess what? This was planned. This was planned.
Well, the fact that they already have a new booster for it, and that COVID, I heard basically that COVID will be like the flu shot, that you'll get a booster every single year.
Yes.
And I know we got people who disagree with us, but you got healthy young people suddenly dying of heart attack, stroke, blood clots, and it doesn't make a lot of sense.
When you have 500% and 600% increase in somebody's problem of a certain gender or a certain age group, then you know something is happening there. That's not a normal change.
Yeah, there's a 30% increase in 18 to 35-year-olds of death.
There you go. Well, I know
since 2020,
right,
2021, when what came out,
and that doesn't count all the ones who are still struggling with all the things that have been created by it.
But it's very interesting. We went up to Sacramento. I went up to Sacramento just this last weekend, and we lobbied against a lot of these bad bills that are coming out. And you saw a lot of our Sacramento politicians still wearing masks. And it's amazing to me. Why would you wear a mask? And it was like, oh, guess what's coming back? Because
our governor signed $1 million deal without bids for China to supply the masks for us.
I remember that too.
Yeah, don't bother bidding it out to somebody to find out who gives you the best bid and the best price and the best mask. Just make the $1 million deal with China.
I want to go back to Trump's mugshot.
Yes.
This mugshot right here is becoming a symbol. And it's a symbol of a man who's not going to back down, but it's also a symbol of the people who will say we'll never surrender, and we're not going to comply with any COVID mandates because we understand the long game. We understand what they want to do.
That's right.
We saw what happened during COVID. We saw what happened during the last election. And the fact that it's suddenly coming back right before an election year, and that Trump also is indicted and may not be able to campaign because of everything going on. This mugshot, what that look says is, I know what you're up to, and I'm not surrendering.
There you go.
And that's the look that we all need to have.
Well, that is the look, and we all need to do what's right. I remember when COVID first came out here in California, they wanted us to close all the churches because those were spreader events.
Super spreader.
Right, super spreaders. But tattoo parlors and strip clubs
weed
shops
Planned Parenthood abortion clinics.
And abortion clinics could all remain open because those were essential.
Yeah.
Essential. I love that word. But church
if-
was said to be irrelevant, not essential.
And it was actually that sparked our podcast. We were talking about how it was ironic that you can't go to church because it's a super spreader event, but if you wanted to go and loot with BLM, a Target
Yeah.
or a Walmart,
Yeah.
that was totally fine, and it wasn't
Because that
considered
was
a
a
super
social
COVID didn't exist
justice,
over there.
yes.
It's a very interesting virus because it only exists in the places that threaten leftist control.
There you have it. I don't know. I was with somebody recently who said, 10 years ago, if somebody told me this stuff would be going on, I would have said, there's no way. There is absolutely no way. Now there's a way.
Yeah. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
With seeing how they're teeing up the ball, what should our response be?
Our response should be, go to the Bible, do what it says. It gives a lot of things to do about our activities in this world that are pleasing to God. One of the things that I believe it says very clearly is, when you come to God, you don't go off and sit in the mountain someplace. You become part of the activities that are going on, because part of our job is to be salt and light in the world. And if you don't engage the world, how can you possibly be light or salt? Salt prevents and
Decay.
Yeah, it
also
postpones decay.
it makes something flavorful. It preserves, but also salt will sting in an open wound.
Yes, it will.
And light, even though it gives warmth and you can see everything, if you're in darkness, light blinds.
It does. Anyway, those things are. Jesus told his disciples, "You are the salt. You are the light.
Yeah.
You cannot hide under a bushel. You have to. If you're the light and you're the salt, you have to be where salt and light are applied, and that's in the world." So Christians who want to bury their head in the sand and say, "Oh, I only do spiritual things. I don't do worldly things."
Yeah.
Nazi Germany, 3/4 of the churches did that, and you saw where that went.
Definitely.
We're not going to criticize the government because that's political stuff, and we only do spiritual stuff.
Martin Niemöller, the famous guy who said, they came for the communists and I wasn't a communist. They came for the socialists, I wasn't a socialist. They came for the Jew and I wasn't a Jew. And then they came for me and there was no one left to speak up for me. He actually had a meeting with Hitler. And this is before World War II and everything.
Right, before the war.
And he goes to Hitler and he basically says, hey, we're basically, pretty concerned about what's going on. And Hitler said, don't worry about it. You stick to your sermons. You leave the Third Reich to me. And that's exactly what Gavin Newsom is totally fine with also.
Yeah.
He's totally fine with us as long as the church stays in the four square boundaries of the church.
Right.
And you can hoot, you can holler, you can do whatever you want. But just leave California. Leave the United States to us. Don't get involved.
Because we know best.
And then you know what happens right after that.
Yeah.
Suddenly, they came for him.
That's it.
And so how we get here is how we get out of this. Like, put it this way. If tomorrow they started lockdowns again and they started saying, you can't go to church because you have to wear a mask now, or you can't go to church but you can go here and this and that, I'm just not going to comply.
That's right. Either that or I have to get a tattoo, buy some weed, and go to a strip club. That's,
Well, that too.
That would be the compliance.
You can identify as
but I would wear a mask every one of those places.
You can identify as being masked.
Oh, okay. I do identify as being
trans-masked.
Yes, I'm a
That's
trans
really
masked.
my identity. I thought about it for a long time, and now I'm trans-masked.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can understand that.
Yep.
Okay.
But yeah, don't comply.
Well,
Fight the good fight. Finish the race.
And it's true. Those who say, well, we're not in this to fight something. What did Paul say? At the end of his life, he said, I have fought
the good fight.
The good fight.
He didn't say, I played the good chess game.
Right. He didn't say,
I played patty cake.
I waited in my room and prayed all day long.
Yeah.
No, he said, I fought the good fight. That indicates you have to be in the battle.
Yeah.
And we're told put on the full armor of God
Mm-hmm.
because we're in a battle. This is a battle.
Yeah.
And one of the things that really bothered me that I didn't like was when God said, "You're a soldier and you're going to be in the battle."
Mm.
And my initial reaction to that was, "No, wait a minute. I am a peace-loving man. I don't want to." No,
Yeah.
we don't have a choice. We do have a choice in one degree. If we come to Jesus and he receives us, which he said he will receive anyone who comes to him, we do it sincerely, we then are in a battle.
Yeah.
And I know a battle's not fun. A battle is hard. Sometimes it feels like we're losing the battle, and that's painful. But we're in a battle.
And that battle is spiritual. Paul says also, we don't war against flesh and blood,
Mm-hmm.
but against principalities and forces in the air of this present darkness.
Right.
And he also says in Corinthians that our weapons are not carnal, but they're powerful for tearing down strongholds and fortresses.
Right.
Jesus says this kind only comes out by prayer and fasting. Prayer and fasting needs to be our first go-to in this battle. And
Right.
then spiritual warfare is also tearing down every lofty thing that sets itself up against the knowledge of God. So for people watching, that could look like going to your school board and saying, "Hey, I want you to pass this parental rights policy," or "I don't like what you're doing here."
I
Because
don't like
you're disobeying God. Be like John the Baptist.
Yeah.
John the Baptist did that with Herod. He said, "Hey, you have your brother's wife. That's sin." Here you have a religious guy calling out a government official.
There you have it. Well, it's true. And it doesn't say it's going to be pleasant.
No.
Interestingly enough, even when Jesus was casting out demons,
Yeah.
they were cast out of a human being because the demonic forces use human beings in this world to do evil things. And so even though we're fighting against the spiritual, we still have to sometimes do things against the physical and the temporal.
The cool thing is in Psalms, remember what David says about war?
Uh-huh.
That God trains his hands for war.
Mm-hmm.
That's God literally trained his hands for war.
Literally.
But for us believers in the New Testament, there is a time for war, right? Actual war. The time is not now. But for spiritual war right now, God is training our hands. He's training our knees. He's training our minds. And that spiritual war starts on the inside of each one of us.
Yeah.
We have to make sure, Lord, I'm fully surrendered to you. And sometimes that means sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that means loving people and loving them through things, because that's what Jesus has done for us. But that's spiritual warfare. We're not called, spiritual warfare is love, grace, and truth. Jesus came with both grace and truth.
Mm-hmm.
The law was realized through Moses, but Jesus came with grace and truth. If you have just grace, it doesn't work out. And if you have just truth, it doesn't work out. You got to have both.
Yeah.
And God's mercy and his judgment and his love are all met at the cross.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And that's what needs to be the final thing in this. Is Trump is a great symbolism. The cross, the empty tomb, that is the pinnacle. That is the true symbol for us believers. This is great encouragement, though.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Well, should we wrap it up for today and say
Yeah.
save some for the next time?
Yeah, we'll save some for the next time. Next time, I actually want to get into some of this Hurricane Hillary stuff.
Oh, my gosh.
Did you know that everyone who died in Hurricane Hillary was labeled a suicide?
Officially?
No, that's a joke.
Okay.
Yeah. Hurricane Monica's next.
I understand. Because of Hillary.
Yeah, Hurricane Monica's next.
There you go.
And then Chelsea is supposed to follow after
Okay.
that. Yeah.
That makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, I know that there is a political family that's had an extraordinary number of people close to them who died, and an extraordinary number of them are listed as suicide. under very unusual circumstances.
But this is going to be, this is funny. I want to talk about weather modification next time.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that.
Well, I want to give sort of a praise to God. We had the Hurricane Hillary was coming to California. Where we live in California, we live in Southern California. Our particular city, we never had any high winds at all. We never had any torrential rain. It rained constant and it rained steady, and it was a good downpour, and we got 6 or 8 inches of rain altogether. But it was never like we've been in tropical storms far worse than that was. And God blessed us by ending the drought, filling up the reservoirs, doing all the things that human beings said that they would do and amassed billions of dollars to do and never got done.
Yeah. It's amazing what God can do.
Yep.
And, we'll end there for today.
Okay.
But tune in next time. Subscribe, like this video, share it with a friend, and thank God we have 2 mics now.
Yes.
Yep.
I like it.
I just called it the 2 mic show.
There you go.
But God bless you guys.
God bless you. Bye-bye.